Governor ass up here.
I'm staying Governor County. I don't see the speaker, so I think you're going to
Yeah,
speak
there's
first.
there he is.
Yeah. Come on up, speaker.
Out today, we wanted to get together to talk about what the governor is going to sign in a few minutes. We have taken, since the last 4 weeks and 2 days, a lot of time having discussion among Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate, working on a bill that was just enrolled in both chambers and has been delivered to the governor. I cannot say enough about the cooperative nature that we have worked under in these past few weeks and the discussions that have been taking place with one objective in mind: taking care of the Kentucky citizens that were most recently hurt in eastern Kentucky and continuing our efforts from that which happened last December in western Kentucky. I want to make this clear, particularly towards eastern Kentucky, but as to western Kentucky. Certain things have become ripe for action, and I believe it incumbent and critical for the press to be involved in this, such as the loss of revenues for the school systems due to the reduced tax value of the property, where you lost a house and you only had the land, and therefore $85 million of taxable property values were lost, like in Warren County. That's not going to happen just yet in eastern Kentucky, but it will. So we had to step back and make that correction. But now what we have to do, and what needs to get conveyed, is that we have to get people in appropriate housing, and there are monies in this bill and in the prior budget to deal with that issue now. There are communications going to get that temporary housing, and I know the governor has updates on how they are moving and how fast they are moving and where they are coming from. Upon that, then we will take the next step of looking on how we rebuild and change and potentially put people in a better housing pattern. But the bill we passed today takes a substantial first step, a very substantial first step in rebuilding eastern Kentucky. I cannot say enough about my colleagues. I sponsored in the Senate, John Blanton in the House, the work of the Speaker as the leader, the leadership group from the Senate that took over the operations of the chamber as I worked on the bill, and the cooperation with our former colleague Rocky Atkins, John Hicks, and the governor's office in dealing with this, making people available to us to ask any and all questions, because I think our all common goal was to make sure we maximize use of every dollar, both federal, state, and foundation dollars, to bring us back to the point where we were. So with that, thanks to everyone here in front of you, from both branches, both parties, and both chambers. And my colleague in this, in the legislative process, directing this through, I want to introduce Speaker David Ogden.
Thank you, Robert. We just passed, or the bill that we just passed, I think, was probably part of the most seamless process that I've had the opportunity to be a part of since I've been in the legislature. And rarely are the lights on when we're all pulling in the right direction. Usually the lights come on when we are divided over something. And I think this was a great opportunity to highlight the efficiency of the legislative institution and how it works as it was supposed to in crafting this legislation. Incredible thank you to the administration, to the governor, to Rocky, to John, everybody in the administration that all immediately went to work to provide this relief as quickly as we possibly could. We could have probably come into session a little bit earlier and gotten some things done, but I think it would have been incomplete. When we were ready to act, we acted, and we acted appropriately. There were a lot of raw emotions on the floor today. I think you saw that, and that says a lot about how personally and how seriously the members of our respective chambers took this endeavor. A great deal of thanks goes to our entire Mountain Caucus, and particularly the few minutes that they took away from working on the ground in their districts. They were pulling together to help coordinate this effort, and so very proud of the efforts that they put forth. John Blanton, who represents much of the impacted area, was our sponsor. Not only does he represent impacted areas, but also as the chair of the Mountain Caucus, and it was a privilege to have him carry this piece of legislation. John?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was an honor for me to be able to carry such an important piece of legislation that will directly impact my area, our area, the Mountain Caucus area. We've been through a devastating time over the past 4 weeks. We are a strong, proud, resilient people, and we will get through this. But we need a little nudge along the way, and this is that nudge. I can't say thank you enough to the governor, Rocky, and the entire executive branch, to leadership in the Senate, leadership in the House, to steal a phrase from the governor over the past few days and saying this is not a bipartisan, it's a nonpartisan bill, but I'm going to add one to that. This is a Kentucky bill. This is Kentuckians coming together to help Kentuckians. And so I'm greatly honored to be able to do this. I will say this, that information will continue to come in, and we will have to adjust as we move along. There will be other things that have to be identified and needs met. This is step one. Step one. Right now, we still have people in tents. We still have people in shelters. This provides funding for intermediate housing to get them out of the tents and get them into something with a roof, and we'll have heat because we're getting ready to go into cold weather months. So that was an important piece of this that was maybe somewhat misconstrued, and I want to assure people that not only are there intermediate housing on the way as we're speaking here today, but we are prepared to make further purchases to ensure that we get every single family and individual out of a tent, out of a shelter, into housing. And it couldn't have been done without all of us here today. And for the members of the Mountain Caucus, they've been on the ground since day one. They've been delivering food, water, shelter, shoveling mud, tearing up floors, and not only them, but legislators, Republican and Democrat alike, around this Commonwealth have came to our aid, and for that we are greatly appreciated. And so to leadership and to the governor, I say thank you.
Thank you. So nearly 1 month ago, almost to the day, Eastern Kentucky was hit by what would be the deadliest, most devastating flooding event that we have ever experienced. We lost 39 of our fellow Kentuckians. 2 more remain missing, and thousands have lost everything at such a profound level. It's almost changed how you feel when you hear that phrase. From the beginning, the executive branch and the legislative branch have been working seamlessly. Members especially of the Mountain Caucus have been communicating with us in real time at the EOC, and we have been reacting and responding to what they have seen on the ground, and I know that our response has been better because of that information, because of their ideas, and because of an ability to communicate and hopefully get the word out where help is, and how to access it. Since the very beginning, this has been one of the greatest examples I have seen of nonpartisanship, of just simply caring for your fellow human being and living out our shared faith and values. 3 days ago, I announced a special session of the General Assembly to address the dire needs of our Eastern Kentucky family and communities, and today the General Assembly has delivered. We stand here together in your Capitol Rotunda, and we stand united. We stand united in our love and compassion for everyone who lost someone during these floods. And we stand united in our purpose to help the people of Eastern Kentucky rebuild their lives and rebuild their communities, with this special session only being one piece and one step of what it's going to take to make that a reality. In just a few minutes, I will sign into law the Eastern Kentucky State Aid Funding for Emergencies, or EK SAFE. I want to say at the top here that none of this would have been possible without Senate President Robert Stivers, House Speaker David Osborne, all the majority and the minority leadership, every single one of the Mountain Caucus. But I think, as you've seen in this session, everybody just showing up to do the right thing, loving our neighbor as ourselves, and remembering that Eastern Kentuckians are Kentuckians. And Eastern Kentucky was there for Western Kentucky when Western Kentucky needed it, and Western Kentucky has been there for Eastern Kentucky as well. The next 6 months are going to be crucial for the people of Eastern Kentucky, but the rebuilding won't end there. In fact, much of the rebuilding likely won't start until near the end of that period. We are still in a stabilization phase where we have got to ensure housing for especially the next 6 months, and we've got to work on long-term solutions. I'll mention that in a minute. So just as a recap, EK SAFE does several things to spend the $212.7 million in aid to the region. And how about this? 1 month after this flooding, state legislature has now provided $212 million to help in the next 6 months. $115 million goes to the Department of Military Affairs Division of Emergency Management. That helps reimburse local cities, counties, schools, state agencies, and it assists in intermediate housing. $45 million will go to Kentucky's Transportation Cabinet for the highway budget. This will allow us to leverage more dollars to fix roads and bridges. $40 million will go to the Department of Education. There are significant needs, and we need to be having conversations right now about what schools are repaired and what schools are rebuilt, and where those schools are rebuilt in a broader effort to protect our people. I appreciate the thought that the General Assembly has put in to give some flexibility in those talks, that yes, rebuilding a school in a different area may cost a little bit more, but may be the right move for these communities as we move forward. And then nearly $12.7 million of ARPA funding will help us with water and sewer and infrastructure. And when we look at long-term needs and long-term housing, we got to have water there, we got to have power there, we got to have the roadways there. So what I know that this bill does is help us to purchase and move forward with intermediate housing. For us, a lot of that is travel trailers. FEMA's housing program is just about to turn on, and that will amplify what's there. But it also provides us the infrastructure money right now to make sure, as we work towards that long-term housing solution, we can be running the lines, laying the pipe that is necessary to make that a reality. To give you an update, just in the last day alone, we've increased our travel trailer supply by over 10%. It takes just a little bit to get families into the sheltering program, but that's because we have to follow a path to where they can start with us. They can move over to FEMA, and we can have people in there for 6 months to a year to longer, when otherwise we might have other challenges. So just since yesterday, 10 new travel trailers. Each of those come into Perry County. They are the first set of travel trailers in Perry County. That took us from 94 to 104 travel trailers on the ground right now. Just since yesterday, 6 additional households inside of travel trailers. Those are 5 in Breathitt, because we've just gotten those on site, filling them up fast, and 1 more in Floyd County. We've already purchased another, I believe it is 28 travel trailers that are on the way right now, and we are finalizing an agreement with Louisiana. I want to thank Governor John Bell Edwards for what is going to make available hundreds of high-quality additional travel trailers we are going to bring to bear. You are going to see increases day in and day out in a way to where we can stabilize our folks as we move towards a longer-term solution. And I know everybody here, just like me, is pushing FEMA to do more. They need to do more. And there's going to be another FEMA challenge when we look at new opportunities for where people live. And FEMA will need to step up and provide different funding or different types of buyouts that can actually make that a reality, because we cannot ask people to go into debt, to go from a place they've owned for decades to potentially somewhere else. I want to thank everybody who is up here, who has been a part. First, I think one of the most unprecedented effective emergency responses we've seen in the history of the United States. Yes, we lost 39 people. We saved over 1,400. That's because Kentucky has the best National Guard in this entire country. Yeah. And we'll give Tennessee and West Virginia 2 or 3 because they came to our aid. It's the Kentucky State Police, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we lost a member of the Tennessee State Police that actually trained us in the use of the hoist just yesterday. I know that a lot of the lives saved were because of his work, and we mourn with that family. Because of our first responders from so many different areas and what they did, and now our legislature, which is here, I don't think we've ever seen a month, almost to the day, providing relief. So to everybody out there, this is a statement, and you're seeing it. We're going to be here for the people of Eastern Kentucky and the people of Western Kentucky, because we added some help for them in this one too, for however long it takes. So I'm ready to sign this legislation and open up a little more than $212 million to help.
This guy right here.
All right. We're going to endeavor to have a set of pens for our mountain caucus and enough for everybody else too, which is a pretty big deal. All right, where are you, John? I just want to make sure. Yes, sir. All right, thanks. And it is the let's go. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you for all the work you and your church have done. Thank you for working with our National Guard, like you've been doing, and making sure we can get to people in need. Yes. Next time I'm going to ask him for something different to carry these in. You live and you learn. Go. All right. All right. Congratulations, everybody. If I missed anybody. So I'm telling them that anybody would be available for individual interviews. Okay. I think that legislators, and I'll have a brief time over here, be available for individual interviews, especially the Mountain Caucus.